In a very recent post that Stephen Beatty put up through his Facebook feed, he commented that he felt that Philip Roth deserved a Nobel Prize, and because Roth right now is receiving a very prestigious honor in France, but again has not been nominated by the Nobel Committee, and this led to a comment by Daryl Wetter, who remarked that he felt that Roth had become too repetitive, was too solipsistic, too narcissistic. This is a charge that's been made against Roth for many years now. But Wetter's point was that basically Roth was not really qualified artistically, was not in the league in which one could consider him a Nobel-worthy writer. Now, my own opinion on the issue is somewhat in between, in the sense that I'm a longtime Roth fan, going way back to my early teens. He was one of the first literary writers that I really got into. But I do have a lot of sympathy for people who have become a bit tired and fatigued by the way in which he takes these autobiographical characters, these thinly veiled Roth type avatars, these literary avatars, and plunks them down into his stories, which I think are a little bit too either too self-indulgent and too gassy. Not really well written as novels. They don't have the propulsive quality. They don't have the sort of truncated velocity, and therefore they don't have the vitality that I think a novel really needs to have these days to compete with other media. They certainly have the intelligence, but great art needs both vitality and intelligence. And the example that I cited in Stephen's feed was American Pastoral, which is a well-intended, intelligent novel, but too gassy, much too overwritten. And in any case, as this discussion is taking place, this is pretty small potatoes, even within the venue of social media. There is the news cycle. As people know, the world was on the brink of war just a couple of months ago. That's something that you become acutely aware of if you are living in South Korea. The tension between the Koreas is very intense. It's like nothing I've seen in the past 15 years. That tension has subsided somewhat, but the danger is still there. There's a quiet to politics here, but it's an eerie quiet. And of course, the helicopter drills, the jet drills, the airborne Hercules troops doing their practice runs over the university where I work, into the hills that look kind of like the hills of Pyongyang, just in this part of Gyeonggi-do province. All of that continues, and it lends one a sort of uneasy feeling, a sort of unstable, uneasy feeling. Now, also in the news today, I saw a story about how CO2 levels are actually rising dramatically. And it turns out that this year is not a year when we are sort of stabilizing the situation, but we're still under the threat of global warming, global fevering. And that continues, seemingly unabated, without any real sort of clear direction, any sort of clear kind of control coming from the world's governments. Certainly nothing that seems sufficient. There seems to be a sort of drift. There seems to be a sort of a habit of talking rather than developing plans, sort of effective, quickly implemented plans that will really work. And then finally, there's all this business with Russia and people talking online now very excitedly about how this is the end for Trump. This is the kind of internet commentator who thinks that, posting to one's friends somehow has an effect on the world, and also thinks that calling somebody like Donald Trump a crazy person, this is a person with access to nuclear weapons, and then just sort of backing off and needling him constantly is a sort of a smart strategy in terms of resolving this political crisis. There doesn't seem to be any of the sense that one finds, for example, in South Korea, that, and this is a point I've been making for some time now and trying to interest American newspapers in, but they just won't bite. They just don't want to think about it from this point of view. There doesn't seem to be any sense in America of the importance of mass demonstration, So is it really wise to call somebody who's crazy when they have access to weapons? Would you walk into a biker's clubhouse and start telling them what nutcases and evil people they are? That is analogous to what is happening now. I mean, this is sort of a nutty kind of situation, and where, yes, there's this person who has extreme executive authority, but the commentary that surrounds him is also kind of nuts. And this is the world we live in. We seem to be overwhelmed. We seem to be drowning in these different challenges. And to come back to my original point, we need a literature that can deal with this. I mean, Roth had the smarts. He had the opportunity. Publishers indulge people like Philip Roth and let him write the way he wants, which is a luxury a lot of writers don't have. I mean, it's a luxury these days to even get published. I could make a post about that issue alone. But there we are. This is the world we live in, and we need writers who will meet these challenges, who will somehow capture the complexity and the pressing nature of all these dangers sort of converging on us at the same time.